the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, March 10th, 2020, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, March 5th, 2020, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can we have a roll call?
Michael Beelan.
Here.
Kent Diamond.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Robert Garrison.
Here.
Brian Morrissey.
Here.
Gretchen Olig.
Here.
Howard Porto.
Here.
Peggy Oster.
Here.
Amy Root.
Here.
Right. Kent, can you lead us in a flag salute?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Announcements. Rob, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I have one. The Westfield Police Department is accepting applications for its Youth Police Academy, which will be held from Monday, August 10th through Friday, August 14th, 2020, from 9 a.m. through 3 p.m. each day. Open to Westfield students in grades 9 through 12, participants will learn about the Westfield Police Department and other local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, receive basic training in police procedures, enjoy demonstrations by the K-9 unit, the fire department, the bomb squad, and more. The deadline for submitting applications is Friday, May 1st, 2020 by 6 p.m. Enrollment will be on first-come, first-served basis. Space is limited. Applications can be picked up at the Westfield Police Department, Westfield High School, Edison and Roosevelt Intermediate Schools, or online at www.westfieldnj.gov.
Thanks. Tara?
The Friends of the Westfield Memorial Library will hold its spring book sale in April. Donation days are April 22nd and 23rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and April 25th from 9 a.m. until 12 noon. Sale days are April 28th, a pre-sale from 4 to 7 p.m. for Friends of the Library members. April 29th and 30th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. May 1st from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. May 2nd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. To learn more, visit www.fwmlnj.org.
Thank you. Michael?
Yes, there is still time to purchase tickets for the Westfield High School Theater Department production of Chicago the Musical, the high school edition, which runs from this Thursday, March 12th, through Saturday, March 14th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. each evening in the Westfield High School auditorium. Tickets may be purchased at whstd.booktix.com, and BookTix is BOOKTIX.com.
Thank you. Brendan?
Yes. Don't miss Matilda the Musical at Roosevelt Intermediate School with a matinee performance on March 19th at 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Performances on Friday, March 20th and Saturday the 21st. Tickets are $10 and may be purchased in advance at ris.booktix.com or at the door. Advanced purchase is recommended. A student matinee special discount of $5 is offered only at the door for the Thursday performance. Stay for a special Q&A with the cast and crew at the conclusion of Thursday's performance.
Great. Thank you. Brian?
Westfield High School 11th grader Katie Hamilton won the 1600 meter title in the Group 4 State Championship at the New Jersey Indoor Meet of Champions this weekend, becoming the first female runner in Westfield High School history to place first in a Meet of Champions individual race. Congratulations and best of luck to Katie as she heads to Nationals this Friday.
The Westfield Public Schools are celebrating the nationally acclaimed Youth Art Month in March with colorful and creative displays throughout the downtown area. Be sure to take a stroll through downtown Westfield to view student paintings, drawings, and sculpture in the windows of many of our local merchants, as well as the Westfield Memorial Library and RMC Studios in Garwood. Additionally, in coordination with Youth Art Month, RMC Studios is hosting an Evening with Art and Music open house for the general public to view student artwork in a unique gallery setting on Friday, March 20th from 7 to 9 p.m. at 207 Center Street in Garwood. Thank you.
Thank you. Gretchen?
The Westfield Rotary Club President Liz Enslin has announced that Friday, April 3rd, 2020 is the deadline for nominations for the 28th Annual Charles Philhauer Fellowship Award, which recognizes an outstanding full-time elementary teacher in the Westfield Public Schools each year. Letters of nomination are invited from interested citizens, parents, students, and Westfield Public School staff members and should be addressed to Charles Philhauer Fellowship Committee of the Westfield Rotary Club, care of the offices of the Superintendent of Schools, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, 07090, or they can be emailed to rotaryphilhauer@westfieldnjk12.org. Nomination should specify ways in which the teacher has demonstrated outstanding teaching, interest in children, and continued pursuit of professional growth. The teacher must be a full-time faculty member in grades K through 5 in the Westfield Public Schools for at least 5 years. The fellowship recipient will be honored at a Rotary luncheon and a Westfield Board of Education meeting, both scheduled for May 5th, and will receive a Rotary grant to further professional growth or to enhance classroom activities for students. And I just want to note that Philhauer is spelled Philhauer, so Rotary Philhauer at westfieldnjk12.org.
Amy?
Thank you to those families who have generously supported the 2020 Parent Teacher Council, or PTC, Scholarship Fund. For those who have not yet had a chance to contribute, there is still time, and the PTC needs your support. Established in 1957, the PTC Scholarship Fund benefits graduating Westfield High School seniors who demonstrate financial need, academic perseverance, and community involvement. More information on this important outreach can be found on the Community Flyers section of the district website. Please make your donation on Mobile Arc or send a check payable to Westfield PTC Scholarship by March 31st to Westfield PTC, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, 07090. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Dillon, do you have any?
I do. So tonight I wanted to take a moment to talk about the coronavirus disease 2019, also known as the COVID-19. It is the lead story in just about every news broadcast and print publication, and understandably, it has people somewhat on edge. So our role and responsibility as a public school district is to work closely with local and state public health officials, along with our educational leaders, to ensure that the district is prepared should COVID-19 affect our school community. So here are some of the steps that we've taken. We created a coronavirus information resource page on the district website. Links to the most recent information provided by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the New Jersey Department of Health, the Westfield Regional Health Department, as well as a 24-hour public hotline provided by the New Jersey Department of Health. And we also have information there from the CDC in both Spanish and Chinese. So each of my emails sent to parents and staff, including today's communication with the Home Access Technology Survey, are listed on the website as well. So the parents in Westfield truly are remarkable. We just put out the Home Access Technology Survey this morning. As of 4 p.m. today, more than 70% of the survey emails had been opened with 2,573 responses. Over 99% of respondents answered that they have internet access, which is certainly a key component to distance learning should we need to close one or more of our schools. But we will be reaching out to those families who have indicated that they'll need assistance with either devices or internet access should we have to close. There are additional resources on our website, including talking to your children about COVID-19. There are also important reminders about measures to help to prevent the spread of respiratory diseases like frequent hand washing and staying at home if you're sick. The coronavirus information page is posted on the district website in several areas to make it easier. Actually, the easiest way to find it is just to go in the search bar and put in coronavirus. But additionally, if you wanted to, you can look under recent news, district information, or family resources, and on each school website under recent news and health services. As outlined in yesterday's email to parents and staff, As required by the state, we are now creating a contingency plan for online learning at home, should it be necessary. I will refer you to that email again, which is posted on the website, but let me just review a few points from that email. At-home instruction due to a public health school closure will count towards the statutory 180 days of school, provided it meets state requirements. A school closure would only happen after the Westfield Board of Education receives a written directive from the New Jersey Department of Health or the Westfield Regional Health Department. A closure made without that written directive would not count towards the 180 days. We are awaiting further guidance from the New Jersey Department of Education as to some of the specific requirements for home instruction. But in the meantime, the administrators and supervisors and representative teachers have been working on plans, and it will be unveiled to all the teachers in the coming days. I am grateful to Megan Avalone and her team at the Westfield Regional Health Department. I'm also grateful for our hardworking school nurses, to our administrators and teaching staff, and so many others who have come together to work collaboratively on this ever-evolving public health situation. I also want to thank our school community for remaining calm and for their willingness to be part of the solution. We understand the strain a school closure would place on our families, and we hope it doesn't come to that. However, just as the district must have a preparedness plan, we suggest that families, especially those with two working parents, also address childcare and other considerations should we need to close a school. We will continue to provide updates as we work together to focus on the safety and wellness of all in our school community.
Thank you, Dr. Dolan.
Hey, may I make a comment? I too want to echo Dr. Dolan's comments about Megan Avalone. What a lot of folks don't know is that in Westfield, it's a regional health department, so she represents, I believe it's either 7 or 8 other district municipalities as well. So they are doing yeoman's work with the amount that they have to deal with. And decisions made in Westfield also impact other areas because of the regional scope of the health board, and they've just done a tremendous job.
Yeah, that's very true. We absolutely count on them, not just during this. Our school nurses are part of the public health system and work regularly, and they are responsive and knowledgeable always.
Yeah, just to echo Megan's comments, I know I've been working with her on certain things, and she's been posting updates every other day just about. It's been very hectic for her the past couple of days, but there's a lot of good information out there on the, not only on our district website, but also on the regional health website.
Right, and we do link to that, because as you say, she's constantly updating, and we link to the others just to try to make it a little bit easier for people.
Great. Anything else? Okay. I just want to remind everyone, the next meeting of the Westfield Board of Education will be held on Tuesday, March 24th at 7:30 p.m. right here at 302 Elm Street. The complete agenda will be available on Friday, March 20th on the board section of the district website. At this time, I'd like to recognize the public for agenda items only. Agenda items only. Seeing nobody come forth to the podium, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Dolan.
Thank you. And actually tonight, the superintendent's report is a focus on a budget presentation, and for that I'm going to turn it over to Dana Sullivan, our business administrator.
So at the last meeting, we presented a draft budget to you. We had not received state aid information. We have since received state aid information, so what we are going to present tonight is the revised budget and what we're recommending that the board approve that we submit to the county before their due date. So just to go over again, this is the same calendar that we presented last time. We've started this process in the fall, and we've been meeting with department heads and principals for months discussing the budget. The state aid information was released on the 27th of February, so that was last week, or a week and a half ago. We did receive more state aid than we expected. If you recall in my presentation, I anticipated about $400,000 additional state aid. We actually received $724,000 in basic state aid. We also received, with that information, some additional costs that we weren't aware of, that we had to put in the budget document. So overall, it wasn't quite that much of an increase to us as far as the amount that we had to reduce out of the budget. We still had reductions, but I'll get into those details in a second. So we are asking for you to approve this tentative budget tonight. It'll get submitted to the county tomorrow, and then we will have a final public hearing on April 28th and final adoption. at the meeting in November, when you guys met to review the budget, these were the guidelines that you gave us to maintain class sizes within our policy guidelines, and this budget does reflect that class sizes will remain there. To maintain funding for recently approved courses and also for school resource officers and social emotional learning activities, which is still in the budget. To maintain the fund balance at our 2%, so that's the fund balance that is unassigned that we can use for emergencies, so we do anticipate leaving that at 2%. The board wanted us to stay within the 2% tax levy cap plus eligible waivers. There were no eligible waivers for us this year. Usually we're eligible for health insurance waiver. We were not this year, and we didn't qualify for any of the other waivers, so we are within the 2% cap. And we did talk in November about possibly increasing the student activities fees to cover increased transportation costs. We didn't recommend doing that at this time. The fees have been the same for a while. A small increase wouldn't really made a big impact, but I think might have get some pushback from parents. So we left the fees the same. So the revenue side of the budget, the local tax levy, as I mentioned, is going up 2%, so which is the cap. That'll be $103 million. State aid increased from 5.2 to 5.9. That's basic state aid plus extraordinary aid. The extraordinary aid is just an estimate at this point. We don't know what that aid will actually be until sometime in the summer. The special ed Medicaid, that's federal money that we receive. That's actually a decrease, and that's because the state gave us incorrect numbers last year and made us budget more than we will ever hope to get. So next year we corrected that, and they corrected it on their end. We have, for the past number of years, been using $750,000 of the fund balance as a revenue in the budget, so we're anticipating carrying that same amount again for next year. And then our other revenue, most of that other revenue is interest income that we get on our fund balance that sits in the bank, basically. And our reserve funds is basically the same as it was this year. So our total operating budget is $111 million. And just to illustrate it in a pie chart, so about 93% of our revenue, of course, comes from local taxes. And that's consistent from year to year. And this is just a breakdown of the aid. So our basic state aid, we got an additional $724,000 dedicated to special ed aid. We also went up in our debt service aid. So that helped us for our overall tax levy. That went up $54,000. So this formula, this graph just show the reason we got additional aid this year is because the state is trying to implement the formula gradually. So if the formula were fully implemented, we would receive about $7.3 million. Instead, we're receiving $5 million. We're happy to have the increase, but we're still not quite where we would be if the formula were fully implemented. And then the next slide show back in 2009, 2010, we were receiving $4.6 million in state aid. 2010-11 was when we took the drastic cut and went down to $448,000, and you all remember there were quite a number of reductions to the budget and program at that time. So we have now just quite gone back to a little bit above the 4.6 level. But in that time period, if we had just been held harmless for every year, we would have had another $17 million in state aid. So that's quite a loss of revenue over that number of years. So here's some good news. The budget, as I said, is at the state mandated tax levy cap, which is a 2% cap. Because the ratables have increased and also our debt service aid has gone up, the tax levy increase is only 1.4%. Which is the lowest that it's been for a while, and the average homeowner with a house assessed at the average rate would see a $141 increase for school taxes. Everything I'm presenting here, of course, is just school taxes, not town and county. So on the expenditure side of the budget, the areas of increase in the budget, of course, most of the increase is due to salaries, because most of our cost is from salaries. We have another large increase in special ed costs, and those are estimates based on projections that we have for next year with students attending out-of-district programs and also services needed to provide for students in district. We've talked a lot at the last meeting about transportation costs and the fact that they're increasing due to a national bus driver shortage. So we have increases in various transportation lines, including athletic lines. Health insurance has a very small increase this year. This is on advice from our brokers. We are starting to have a better year. We didn't start out great this year with our experience, but it is getting better. We see improvement in the people that are at the top level of our costs. So our brokers are anticipating a pretty small increase for next year. So we hope that that holds. And then all other areas of the budget have gone down a little bit, so the total increase in the budget is $2.7 million.
Dana, for that last, where it says special ed costs, does that include the salaries and healthcare of in-district special ed personnel?
No, this is without, salaries for any of the special ed are included in the top line.
Okay.
So this is for everything else, the 870. So of course, as we've talked about before, most of our budget is salary and benefits. So about 82% of our budget goes directly for staff and for the benefits for those staff. Another 6% of our budget is for out-of-district tuition for special ed students that we can't meet the needs in district and that we have to send to various out-of-district placements. Transportation and insurance costs are about 5%, and then we have outside consultants, most of them for special ed as well, and then some legal costs is about 3%, and building maintenance is about 2%. And then supplies, materials, and equipment is 3%, so. All other little areas of the budget. And the breakdown of our staffing, so as it should be, most of our staff are instructional staff. 46% of our staff are teachers, regular ed teachers, and then another 30% are special ed teachers and paraprofessionals that work directly with students. Nurses, guidance, and librarians, of course, are also student-related. Those are people that work directly with students as well. Principals, supervisors, and secretaries are all exactly what they say there, and they're building level mostly. And then you have operations and maintenance, which would be the central office as well as custodial staff and maintenance staff. So if you remember the last board meeting, we were about $1,056,000 over cap. With the additional state aid, we were now $884,000 over cap. So the areas that we reduced, we cut transportation budget, and we're looking at various ways to make changes to transportation to save money. It's still kind of early yet for us to make final decisions, but we're working on that, and we're hopeful that we will see some efficiencies there. We did reduce our maintenance budget. As you know, we have money in maintenance reserve accounts, so if we do run out of money in the regular budget, we could probably tap into some of that reserve if we have to. We had money in the first draft of the budget to fund a health and wellness coordinator. That's a position we kind of have talked about for a couple of years. We do have a committee in the district that's working on health and wellness and looking at various programs that are offered in all of the schools, so we think that we can probably do without this position for next year. Although special ed still had a pretty sizable increase, as you saw on one of the previous slides, the first draft of the budget had even more increases in there, so we've kind of looked at that and cut back in some areas there. Employee benefits was mostly pension costs that we had received this year's bill we finally received from the state. And it was a little lower than we thought, so that allowed us to make a reduction in next year, we think. But again, I won't know for sure until next year at this time. And then we made some reductions in our technology budget. Those were some items that we think we can we'll wait and see if we do have money left in health benefits this year. We can probably make some of those purchases this year, or we can do it later next year if money frees up in another account. So overall, from the first draft of the budget, we made reductions of $884,000. So again, I showed this slide last week as well, 2 weeks ago. Our cost per pupil is low compared to other districts that are similar to us, other K-12 districts. It's important to compare us to K-12 districts. The state average, you can see, is just about $2,000 more a pupil. So if we were spending at the state average, we'd have about another $12.6 million in our budget. It's an awful lot of money. So when you look at these other districts that are way up there, they have a lot of areas in their budget where they can make reductions to get to cap that we don't have, because we started out as a low spending district. And then this slide, so same districts again, we're at the high end in the amount that we spend in instruction, which we're proud of. That's where the money should be, but it also makes it difficult to make reductions that don't impact instruction. Although most of the areas that we did make reductions in, we don't think will affect the instructional program. So we do think this budget will preserve all of our existing programs. So that is the budget document. You have detailed information that was given to you in the book. You also have the legal budget, if you had a chance to look, is a couple hundred pages. The only thing that shows different in the legal budget than what you don't see here is what we have to put in the legal budget are capital projects that we expect to do in the next couple of years using capital reserve funds. So it shows about $8 million worth of projects, which we may or may not do. But I wanted to put it in the legal budget document so that we have the ability to do it if we want to next summer. So this is summer of '21. The projects that we're doing for summer of 2020 were in last year's budget. So we'll be, for instance, the doors, the elementary doors. We'll be going out to bid on that soon and awarding contracts on that soon. Those were approved in last year's budget. So, and then you will still, as a board, have to approve that transfer out of capital reserve. But we did put in a number of projects just as a placeholder, so that if we decide to move forward with them next year, we can. Does anybody have any questions about anything in the budget or process?
I was curious about the travel expenses being twice as much as previous. What
Are you
falls under
talking-
that umbrella?
Are you talking about the resolution, or you're talking about a certain line
Talking
item?
about Page 15.
Okay, you're looking at it at one line item.
Just curious
It's-
about that it was in such a, double.
Yeah, what I have to.
I don't know what falls underneath travel, so I'm just wondering what is the detail under that?
So conference and travel is basically any time a person in the district goes out to any meeting or anything that's outside of the district. That's considered
Continuing
travel.
Okay.
So even though you're only traveling to Trenton to go to a
Right.
meeting, it is considered travel. Overall, the district, we haven't increased, we haven't doubled, we haven't even increased. You're looking probably at one particular line item.
Okay.
So what happens is the state requires us to budget in certain accounts very specifically. So different departments and different schools budget in different line items. So you're looking at one line item where another line item may have gone down.
Okay.
Overall, conference and travel is pretty much the same. And also, just while you brought that up, there is a resolution that we are approving a maximum amount for conference and travel. We don't come anywhere near that amount. We just put a high number in there because if we were to get some kind of federal grant or something that we don't expect, and it had travel in there, we want to have the ability to do it. So the amount you're approving is a maximum amount in that resolution, but
Not
there's
what we're
nowhere,
spending.
near that much money
Okay.
in the budget for that, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
I just thank you to Dana, your staff, and the finance committee for pulling this all together.
Thank you.
It's the first year in a while where we've had to really weigh priorities. We've always had to prioritize, but this time we had to pit them against each other.
Right.
Can I reiterate that? Thank you very much, Dana. You and your department are amazing, and this isn't the only thing you do, so you do this very well, and we do appreciate it.
And I'll just make one more comment too. Also, thank you, Dana, and your staff. Even though you present this at last meeting, this meeting, then after for the hearing, we have a finance committee meeting pretty regularly. So this is information that's continually brought up to the board. It's not the first time we're seeing this.
Right.
It's the first time or the second time to vote on to approve a budget, not the first time we're seeing
Exactly.
information.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like the board to approve the minutes of the board meeting held on February 25th, 2020, and the private minutes of February 25th, 2020. All in favor? Oh, can I have a second?
Second.
Brendan? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Personnel. I'd like the board to consider items number 1 to 12. Do I have a second? Rob? I think there are a couple things that Dr. Dolan would like to speak about.
There are. So tonight I'm announcing with regret the retirements of 4 staff members who have provided a total of 68 years of service to Westfield students. For the past 9 years, Nancy Karwowski has been a paraprofessional at Wilson School. She's an integral part of the staff in the ABA classes, exemplifying the finest in supporting our special needs students. Her dedication and commitment to her students and to the special education program in the district are noteworthy. Jim Stewart is retiring after 19 years as a valued custodian, first at Edison and then at Franklin, and more recently here in the Board of Education building. Jim is also the district's messenger and is thorough and diligent in every aspect of his responsibilities. Ann Getz has been a school psychologist at all 4 levels of Westfield schools. She has enjoyed being a member of the child study team at Lincoln, McKinley, Jefferson, Edison, and finally at the high school. Her work in different buildings has allowed her to follow and support a number of students throughout their entire education in Westfield. She's an advocate for her students and has worked closely with their families through the years. For 22 years, Marie-Laure Huffman has been the heart of the French program at Westfield High School. As a native speaker, she has shared her profound love for the French language, culture, and history with hundreds of students. For a number of years, she initiated an exchange with a high school in France where our students were hosted by French students and then returned the hospitality when the French students came to Westfield High School. Marie-Laure holds a highly respected reputation as a French educator throughout the state, and she's been a resource for the French AP testing program nationwide. We wish these staff members health and happiness in their retirements.
Thank you, Dr. Dolan. Yes, and every year we lose some very special employees, and we wish them the best as they move on to their future endeavors, but it does change the landscape of our schools, and we thank them for their service and what they've done for us over the years. Any other questions or comments? No? Dana?
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Ken Diamond.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
Brian Morrissey.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Tara Porto.
Yes.
Peggy Astor.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Okay. Facilities, Michael.
We haven't had a full meeting since we last met, but we did have a meeting, Dana, myself, with members of the Westfield Recreation Department to start initial discussions on the use of Edison Field. There's nothing definitive at this point to report, but discussions have started on what we potentially can do. And we have a meeting this coming Friday.
Great, thank you. Long-range planning, Gretchen.
So the long-range planning committee met tonight before our regular board meeting, and we sort of, clearly we talked a little bit about the COVID-19, but we also sort of regrouped around the full-day kindergarten issue. We continue to have an opportunity that we can't really talk about, but that we want to explore, and so we agreed, though, that the timeline for going out to bond, the initial bond for construction, that we didn't want to lose sight of it. And so we would have an opportunity to do September, November, January. And I assume that if that becomes the option that we are going to pursue, we'll make a recommendation to the board at that point about which of those dates makes the most sense. And we're meeting next month to sort of regroup on that, and hopefully I'll have more to report at that time.
Great, any questions? Nope. Policy. Brendan.
Yes. I asked the board to approve policy item number 1.
Second.
Thank you, Ken. This is to approve for second reading the policies 5330.4, 5756, and 7441. Second reading, so we discussed them last week, or last meeting. Any other questions?
No.
Dana?
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Ken Diamond.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Brian Morrissey,
Yes.
Gretchen Olick,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Peggy Astor,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And I ask the board to affirm the superintendent's decision in HIB incident 20E10 for the reasons set forth therein.
Second.
Thank you, Kent.
Mike
Dana?
Beelen,
Yes.
Ken Diamond,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Brian Morrissey,
Yes.
Gretchen Olick,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Peggy Astor,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And we're meeting next week.
Thank you, Brendan. On curriculum, Amy.
Yep, I would like to ask the board to consider curriculum items 1 through 4. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tara. So we've got one field trip, a high school field trip to Brooklyn. Item 2 is a second reading of curriculum items that we discussed at our last meeting for science classes at the high school. Item number 3 is a small increase to the STEM camp registration fee that occurs in the summertime. So a $20 increase there. And the final item is just approval of an intern at Roosevelt. So, any questions or comments? No, let's vote. Oh, sorry.
Maybe just that it's March 26th, the field trip to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I guess obviously if there's, more issues with coronavirus, then we would, even though we're approving it now, we would potentially put it on hold, or how would that work?
You're right, we've definitely been talking about a number of field trips
Okay.
and looking at each one and, what has been in that area, how vital is the trip, et cetera.
Right.
And so a number of them are being not held. So yes, you're approving it, but that doesn't mean, we'll be looking at it to make sure it's a good idea to go.
It's a bus, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my kids' field trip is canceled for this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yep, let's vote.
Mike Beelen,
Yes.
Ken Diamond,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Brian Morrissey,
Yes.
Gretchen Olick,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Peggy Astor,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Finance, Ken.
All right, thank you. I'd like the board to approve items 1 through 10. Do I have a second? Thank you, Tara. This one, we're approving the budget as Dana gave us a presentation earlier tonight, but I also like to call out a few items. I'd like to note we're accepting the gift of $500 from Exxon Mobil Corporation to be used to enhance McKinley School's STEAM curriculum. So thank you, Exxon Mobil. Another gift we're receiving is $372 from the Westfield High School PTSO to be used to purchase a chair to be presented to a teacher at awards night. So thank you to them. And lastly, accept a gift of $100 from Mr. Kenneth L. McRitchie to finance the 2020 Ian McRitchie Information Technology Award and the Walter Burris Music Award. So thank you to Mr. McRitchie.
If I could just add, Mr. McRitchie is a long-time graduated a long time ago from the Westfield Public Schools, and every year he is so faithful with giving that award. He has done it, I believe, for decades.
Mhm.
So we absolutely thank him. He's very, very loyal.
Dana, can I ask one question?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I apologize, I should have reached out to you
Okay.
offline about this. The money for the architect's fees for the elementary school door project, so
Mhm.
that it wasn't part of sort of the larger work that they did with respect to the door project in general? Is this just
No.
a remaining portion of that, or?
So it was two different pieces. So the middle school and the high school was a
Right.
separate project
Right.
that we did last year. He was actually waiting to put in this proposal because we were waiting to see how these other doors ended up, to see whether we went more electronics on these.
Okay,
We decided not to go as heavy electronics on these, and that changed his fee.
okay.
So that's why it's coming in kind of late. He's already done most of this work because we're ready to go out to bid already.
And is his fee a percentage of the project, or is it more based on scope?
It's both. It tends to be usually around the same percentage, but it's based on scope, but it doesn't vary too far off the percentages unless it's an overly complicated project.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Mike Beelen,
Yes.
Kent Diamond,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Brian Morrissey,
Yes.
Gretchen Olick,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Peggy Astor,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Okay, technology, Robin.
Nothing new to report in terms of meeting. We have our next meeting next Friday, the 20th. I think it's at 8 a.m. But I did want to commend the district and Dr. Dolan for the emails and information that's been going out to the parents on the COVID-19. And I know that there's surveys that are out there, and we do want to make sure that the parents complete those surveys as quickly as possible so we do the proper assessment needed for how we proceed and move forward.
Okay. I'd like the board to consider the notes for the record. Okay. Do we have any unfinished business? No. Do we have any new business? Do we have any liaison reports?
Tomorrow night's Union County School Boards Association meeting, which was scheduled to meet for their Unsung Heroes Award program at Plainfield High School, has been canceled and will be rescheduled once the COVID-19 scare is over.
Okay, I also met with the Rec Commission, it was beginning of last week, and they are continuing to work on their parks plan. And as Michael said, we are working with them to see what they need to, go on with the next steps. They talked a lot about the daddy-daughter dance, and I did see it on Facebook. There were many happy girls and dads. Looked like a great time had by all. And I just want to put a plug in for the Westfield Memorial Pool. I mean, it's been in our community for a very long time, and Heather at the Rec Commission does a great job running programs there and so forth. Sign-ups have started, so if you're interested in the pool, please go onto the Rec Commission website and you can find how to sign up and so forth. And they're also trying to work on some of their other programs that they run to find out what people want and try to get full participation in them. So just watch for some things coming forward, but I know the pool is a big deal for many families in this town, so the registration is open. I also have a liaison report tonight with Jefferson PTSO, but I can't be in two places at once. I'll see what they say after their meeting tonight. Okay?
Quick plug, Franklin has their annual fundraiser at the end of the month. They're going to be going out to Bullmore Lanes, which sounds like a new and different thing, so it sounds like fun. I hope people are able to go. I think it's the 27th of March. And also just wanted to put in a small plug if anybody is available. Tomorrow night is the Special Ed Parents Expo that they put on annually at Edison School between 7 and about 9. And they'd like you to sign up in advance if you can, but they also take people arriving at the door. And they're great sessions that are put on a variety of topics. They've done them on anxiety in school children and school refusal and various special ed topics. So it's a lot of work, but a lot of great information is imparted there. And I'll be taking my Purell as a volunteer to help sign people in. So.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? No. At this time, I'd like to recognize the public for questions or comments. Nobody?
Somebody's got to go first.
Please just state your name and address at the podium.
Lauren Cassiano, 627 Lee Drive. I'm here again because I just wanted to reiterate that Tamaqua parents, first grade parents, really want to make sure we keep class sizes down next year. Since the last meeting, I did a little bit of research because when we came last time, I wasn't very well versed in the policy and where we stood, but I learned a little bit more about Westfield's policy, the class sizes policy. And it says that the desired range for class size is 18 to 25. I know that's the desired range, and I know, Dr. Dolan, you had committed to if the classes became, for instructional students, if any class reached 25, we would add an extra section, which to me wasn't really enough of a reduction in class size going forward. Especially when I look at the policy, which is, and I'm just going to read you a little blurb from it. It says, for grades 1 through 5, the desired range is 18 to 25. It shall be the policy of the Westfield Board of Ed that whenever possible, class sizes in the primary grades 1 through 3 shall be at the lower end of the desired range. And to me, 24 is not the lower end of that range. So
I know last time I had said that I would really like the cap to be at 22, and I know you can't obviously promise that, but I really urge you to do what you can to keep that at 22 or lower. I know right now, I think we have something like 97 students, instructional students, because I know we talked about the difference between the way we counted them. So I think there's like 102 total first grade students right now, and I might be off by a couple, by a student here or there, and 97 instructional students. But if we lost just one, we would be able to spread that out and have 24 in each class. So it's my fear that next year, if enrollment does go down by even just one student, our class sizes will still have 4 sections, and our class sizes will be at 24, which again really is not, I think, what we want. Obviously, the first grade parents don't want that, but I think the district as a whole shouldn't really want that. I started looking into some other policies in surrounding districts. Dana, I took some of the surrounding districts that you had listed on the budget, just so I could see like which districts we thought we should compare ourselves to. And I looked at all of their policies, and frankly, Westfield fell at the bottom range of what their policies were. Of those 12 districts, 6 of them have ranges. Cranford was actually the lowest, or not the lowest, but I don't know, the worst one, I would say. Their range was 20 to 25. Then came Westfield. Ours is 18 to 25, although, you know, we're saying that we're going to keep classes at the primary grades the lower, but we didn't. And we had the capacity, and, you know, I know that we struggle, especially this year going forward. We're going to be, you know, worrying about the budget and everything, but I felt like we did pay for part of a teacher as a push-in, but if we could allocate some money towards staff to fill that extra classroom, to get that class size down, it would be good. The best of those 6 was Berkeley Heights, and their range is 15 to 20 for K through 1. So for us to be saying like, okay, if we get to 25, you know, then we're worried, but 24 is okay, is just, I don't think that's okay for our first grade, so. Again, and I'm hoping with the increase in state aid, I was thrilled to read that, to read an article about that, you know, maybe we could find some of that money and put that towards that, you know, that extra teacher. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure, you know, I made my point and.
Sure, no, you did. You're reading the policy correctly, and I understand the point.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I also want to let you know, I've been talking to a lot of the other first grade parents, and a lot of them are now educated about the policy and what's going on. I've gotten a lot of feedback about how they feel about how we were told about what the class sizes were going to be this year, which we weren't happy about what happened in August and September, which I know I talked about 2 weeks ago. So I just, you know, if you want to hear any of that feedback, I'm happy to share any of that with you too. Okay, thank you.
Hi. Hello. I'm Elizabeth Berberek, 802 Shakamaxon. Is that all you need from me? Yeah. So I grew up in Westfield. I went to Wilson and Roosevelt and Westfield High School. So I feel like people ask me like, oh, Sonia, my daughter is in the Westfield Public Schools now. How's it going? And I don't think it's going well, to be honest. She has 26 in her class, or I guess you guys would say 24. I'm also a teacher. I'm a teacher with the Summit Public Schools at Summit High School, where I don't have a single class above 20 students at the high school level. And I know as an educator just how much class size matters. So like as a Westfield graduate, as an educator, I know that what's happening is wrong. But as a mother, it's beyond. I mean, it's really emotional for me. You know, to see that I feel like I'm not doing right by my daughter because of the situation that she's in. You know, like they had their 100 day of school poster, and I don't really know what she's like done in the 100 days of school, and I think it's not to say that her teacher is doing anything wrong, but I think it's like an almost impossible task. And I just hate the idea that I would already see like a first grader kind of lose that spark that she so clearly had in kindergarten. So I just, you know, just to put the human component to it and not just all the facts and figures, because I think we know it's right, but like these are children. And I think it's just gonna compound over time. You know, you don't want kids losing their love of learning, losing their spark, thinking that certain behaviors in the classroom are acceptable, losing motivation, settling for less. So please, fix it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Kristen Wilson. My address is 13 Normandy Drive. I have 3 children in the district, the youngest of whom is a first grader at Tamaqua. And I just wanted to comment on what some other people have said and just add my concern to that. My son, my older son, who's currently a 7th grader, had 18 in his first grade class, and now with my younger son with 25, it's a really a big difference. I see just the reports that come home. I feel like I do also want to be clear, I think my son's teacher is fantastic and is doing the absolute best she can. I don't remember with my 7th grader him coming home and saying, you know, the principal had to come into the library. It just sort of the behavioral things that he's reporting. I just feel like 25 is a lot of kids that age. And one other point I wanted to make is I just happened to be talking to someone, not a Tamaqua teacher, but someone outside who is an elementary teacher as well, who brought up a point that I actually hadn't considered around this issue. And she had mentioned that on a recent lockdown drill, it sort of occurred to her, the larger the class, that can also potentially be a safety issue as well, because now, especially with kids that little, you have to line them up, you have to keep them quiet, you have to keep them out of sight. So the more kids you have to do that with, the bigger the challenge. And she even said, just based on the size of classrooms and all those kids, the more kids you have, the closer some of those kids are going to have to be to the door and any potential dangers that could be on the other side of that door. So that was, I originally started out with, concerns about, curriculum and behavior, but this was also another point that actually hadn't occurred to me, but I think is something that needs to be considered as well as, is this class, these larger class sizes, putting kids, at a disadvantage as far as trying to keep them safe if, God forbid, there was a situation that the teacher had to, really corral them, keep them quiet, keep them out of sight. So just wanted to mention that as well. Thank you.
Anybody else? We do appreciate your comments and being kept abreast of the situation, and I know Dr. Dolan will continue to look at the numbers for next year. They're not all in at this point in time, so we can't really report on it now, but we do appreciate your comments and look forward to next year and hopefully a good situation for everybody.
Can I add one thing too, Peggy? One thing that sometimes maybe is lost because we sit up here at every meeting is we're all parents here or recent grads, but we've all had our children go through the school district, and it means a lot to us to have parents come here and talk about any and all issues that they have with the schools, with their classrooms. I had a similar situation with my daughter in first grade where I think we had 24 average, and the year before they had 17 or 18. Unfortunately, it does happen, and I had the same feelings you had. We do take it very seriously. We meet in different committees and we talk about this, and it's something that's at the forefront of our thoughts and issues when it comes to especially the younger kids. So we do appreciate coming here and talking about your experiences that you're dealing with, and unfortunately it's a bad situation in your minds and truly so with the size. And we do try everything we can to accommodate and make sure that you're heard and that we deal with the situations.
I have also heard from parents picking up my kids from Tamaqua last week. I was stopped, and she's not here tonight, but expressing the same concerns for first grade.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing matters rendered confidential by state and federal law, personnel matters, and an harassment, intimidation, and bullying incident. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.